It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. You know, we got to laugh. We got to have some laughs through all of this, right?
Yeah.
So let's go to The View yesterday.
Hey. Yeah.
All right. And they played the clip of Trump talking about cackling Kamala and her laugh.
Right.
And so this really ticked off Joy Behar.
Mm-hmm.
Are you ready?
All right.
You ready for this?
All right.
Here we go.
What really ticks me off about him, though, is this laughing Kamala remark. It's such a sexist remark because a guy I was with over the weekend, a friend of mine, that said Kamala's laugh annoys me. Remember they said that about Hillary's laugh, that she was cackling. And men, you know, they don't like a funny woman. We're afraid if you laugh or you make a joke that maybe you'll do that when they're in bed with you. It's like this fear of women's laughing and comedy. Yes.
That's very good psychotherapy.
And what was that reference to the Washington Monument? Well, looks very much like a penis to me.
All right.
I'll say it again. The View gives the incorrect stereotype that women are emotional nightmares with no critical thinking skills at all.
Yeah. Wow.
By the way, some of the best things on YouTube are the two different women who do perfect impersonations of Kamala Harris.
Oh, man. It kind of makes you wish she would stay around. Not in office.
I can't think of the one woman who does it, but she was interviewing herself.
Yeah.
Know, her she was herself normally, and Kamala Harris was, she was doing the impersonation of Kamala Harris. She was doing both, and the camera was switching back and forth between her. It was hilarious.
Well, and
finally she looks at herself as Kamala and says, "What the F are you talking about?"
And the whole thing with the cackling is that it's weird, at times inappropriate. It's not done because she said something funny, Ms. Behar.
Right.
She laughs. It's a nervous laughter.
It's a crutch.
It is.
It's a crutch. I mean, that's
and there's been this assessment of if she's going to go on and become the standard bearer, for their party, that idea that she's the future of their party as they're trying to promote. That is pretty funny because you have to break it down and say, well, what does that look like? I mean, think about her trying to give a serious speech without these weird word salad moments. And the inappropriate laughter. And it has nothing to do, this is the entire thing. And keep in mind, Joy Behar, it was Democrats who first, in a big way as a group, rejected Kamala Harris.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Kamala Harris dropped out in early December of 2019 because her entire campaign was imploding and the money was gone. And she had to shut the doors. She didn't earn her way to the vice president's office. She was picked.
And let me say it again so people understand. I believe The View is the perfect example of the incorrect stereotype that women are emotional nightmares without any critical thinking skills at all.
Right. Right.
Because the women in my life do not think, do not process thoughts at all like the women on The View.
No. No, it's bizarre.
It really is.
And look, we've learned a lot about who they are.
Then Sonny Huston later on says, let's face it, the reason he brings up Kamala, the vice president, is because he's afraid of her, because he knows what a strong candidate she is.
Right.
Then Behar, yes, you smell fear when he comes up with the name for somebody. Huston, he understands how her popularity rating is going up. He understands how her approval rating is going up. And he understands as part of the Biden-Harris team, it's going to be very difficult for him.
Wow. Yeah, sorry.
And as you said, she was the first one out. Democrats rejected her. In fact, she was blaming the racism of Democrats for her early ouster.
Yeah. Yep. And that's the truth. That's how all of that played out. So the political rejection came from the Democrats long before anybody else.
Oh, yeah.
She didn't even make it to 2020.
Yeah, Democrats rejected her. She was the first one out.
Yep.
They didn't even get to a primary, did
Right?
they?
No.
She was out, what, in December of that year?
Early December 2019.
Yeah.
She didn't even make it to Iowa.
She didn't make it to Christmas.
No. So just keep that in mind. Officially, she was rejected by her own party.
I do like the and by the way, really interesting psychoanalysis there.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah,
to her. So the entire concept is, they say Kamala's laugh annoys me. Remember, they said that about Hillary's laugh, that she was cackling, and men, they don't like a funny woman. That's a generality, isn't it?
Has nothing to do with being funny.
And men, they don't like a funny woman. There. Now, she's not saying a particular person. This is a generality towards men.
Yeah, right.
That men, they don't like a funny woman. They're afraid if you laugh or make a joke that maybe you'll do that when they're in bed with you. It's like this fear of women laughing and comedy. Interesting. That's very good psychotherapy. Said co-host Sonny Huston, the descendant of slave owners. They right here.
Wow.
As Newsbuster said,
yeah.
Descendant of slave owners. God, commended.
Wow.
You're on fire today.
Yeah,
He's also heard said.
You're on fire today.
Oh
yeah.
My God. And it's just like, yeah. That's it. Yeah. Men don't like a funny woman because if you're a funny woman, if you're in bed with me, you may laugh at me.
Yeah. By the way, it has nothing to do with being funny. She's laughing, she's cackling when there's nothing to laugh about. That's the reason it's weird. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But that was funny listening to that, though.
Well, again, if you're going to go that route, then you have to go to the voters, the rank and file Democrats who rejected the woman, Kamala Harris, first. So that's the way it played out. Have fun with that one. Your side doesn't like women. Ready? Go.
Well, then is she blaming Democrat men?
You would have to.
Because remember, it's Democrat men. Remember, the popularity of Kamala Harris is low in Democrat circles.
Yeah. Right.
So is that because Democrat men don't like a funny woman?
Right.
Did you see, though, because we were looking at the video, I mean, Joy Behar was so ticked off by it.
Oh, yeah.
This infuriates me. And
Yeah.
it's all because men, they don't like a funny woman, because if a woman's funny, then the woman may laugh at them when they're in bed with them.
That sounds like a supposed comedian who doesn't get any laughter at their shows. That's what it sounds like to me, if you ask me. Sounds like somebody who's been in a room where there's no laughter, when there's supposed to be laughter, when the entire intent is to conjure laughter. Sounds like that's what's going on to me.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's because they hate men.
That happened to me one time.
Your audience hated men. That's why.
That's why they.
Yeah, what were you performing in front of the View?
Remember, I only bombed really bad the one time. That was I only bombed on the stage as a stand-up guy. Really bombed only once.
Yeah,
But it was enough for 10 lifetimes.
Well, that means Joy Behar has a lot on you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Nobody laughed at one thing I said, except the guy who managed the comedy club, who was a comedian himself. He understood me, and he just said, "You're funny. It just went over their heads.
Yeah.
You got to set up better." I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Right.
So you learn, but
Yeah. Well, apparently Joy Behar doesn't. So she ends up on The View, being angry at men for not laughing at women. Well, sorry. That's how it works.
no, actually, because we were laughing at her laugh.
Yeah.
So if we're laughing at her laugh, then we do like funny women.
Laughing at the vice president's laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Not Joy Behar. Because there's nothing funny
no,
about
there's
Joy
nothing
Behar.
about no. 866-90 Red High.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
Pasture and rangeland conditions as a whole in our nation have declined week over week.
Current good to excellent ratings nationally at 44%. That is down 4 points from last week's 48%. Meanwhile, the very poor to poor ratings, exactly 1/4 of the nation's rangeland and pastures rated very poor to poor. That is up 2 points from the previous week.
USDA meteorologist Brad Rippey says increasing excessive dryness in the desert Southwest and southern Atlantic coastal states are behind deteriorating national pasture and rangeland condition ratings.
But outside of those pockets of drought and dry concerns, we do see some really rather lush conditions for this time of the year, early July.
With strong good to excellent pasture and rangeland condition numbers reported for all Midwestern states and some states within dry regions such as the West and South. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just in case you didn't hear it earlier in the show, we did award the greatest answer given by any Democrat as to the current situation with Biden and whether they believe he should pull out or not. And this was the greatest answer.
Yeah.
All right?
All right.
This is the greatest answer, and he didn't answer the question, but it's still the greatest answer given. It was Senator Tim Kaine when asked, should Biden pull out or not, or does he think he will pull out or not?
I have complete confidence that Joe Biden will do the patriotic thing for the country, and he's going to make that decision. He's never disappointed me. He's always put patriotism and the country ahead of himself, and I'm going to respect the decision he makes.
And then he turned around and walked away. So
Yeah.
he never answered the question.
Yeah.
He just said, Biden will do the patriotic thing.
He's going to do what's right.
He'll be the patriot.
And that would be what? So you're saying he should quit? You know, you're going to have to get to that point if they keep doing this thing. Nancy, I'm not going to talk about this in the hallway, but you were just talking about it in the hallway.
Right, saying they're all doing that.
You were just now doing that. And they all, because what they would all like to say is, can we please not talk about Biden? Can we all just go to bed and wake up tomorrow and this be over? No, you can't.
You know who I've noticed the most, and it's really if you just look at her face, it's a microcosm of what the Democrats are going through right now. I did hear the term, somebody used the term yesterday, agony, that it's agony for them.
Yeah.
And it's Representative Deborah Dingell from Michigan.
Yeah.
And if you remember when Scott Jennings was on CNN, he's a Republican strategist, just pounding, and the look on her face was absolute agony and fury at the same time.
Yeah.
And I saw it again yesterday. She was on CNN again yesterday.
Yeah.
And the look on her face, and she actually told the anchor, that's like asking a question, do you beat your wife? Here it is. I got to play this because I know everybody can't see her face, so I'm doing this for my entertainment only and Eric's entertainment because we can see her face. But she's just the agony in the face.
Yeah.
She has a kind of a face that I call it a Jennifer Aniston face. When Jennifer Aniston is sad and crying, you're like, oh wow. This is the same kind of thing, but not sadness, or you feel sorry for her. It's just the agony that she has and the fury of having to sit there and go through this.
I do just want to ask you again if you think President Biden is the strongest person at the top of the ticket to win Michigan in the fall.
He's the candidate right now. And these are, do you beat your wife kind of questions. You know, who is the strong? Everybody said Hillary Clinton's the strongest candidate. She's going to win. And I told you all in 2015, 2016, Donald Trump was going to win. I loved Hillary, but she wasn't the strongest candidate. What we got to do is go out and talk the issues. And we got to make sure we talk about what Joe Biden's accomplished, what the vision is, what Democrats stand for,
I do.
You've got to see her. I mean, when you are at the point where you're saying Joe Biden has to go out and talk about his accomplishments, which one would that be? The border?
Right.
Afghanistan?
Inflation?
Well, you've hit all the top topics.
Right. Yeah.
Well, he needs to talk about his success of climate change. Nobody gives a damn.
Nobody wants to hear that. You mean the fact that you can't use a gas stove anymore?
Right. But it's a look on her face. You could hear her.
Yeah.
She doesn't know. She doesn't know how to complete the thought because she's just so full of agony and rage.
Well, because they can't say outwardly the obvious. Politically, the more they sit there and go, no, Joe Biden's not fit for office. If they were to just keep saying that, he's not fit for office. He needs to get out. He needs to get out. He needs to get out. I would think that if you're on the down ballot, either in the Senate or the House, you probably have a better chance with your constituents if you're being honest about it. The party leadership wants no part of that. Schumer's not going to hear that. He doesn't want to hear about it. And certainly the president doesn't want to hear that. But I think at home, that might be your best chance at limiting the damage on the down ballot.
It's sort of been used before. I'm not a Claire McCaskill.
Yeah.
She's not a crazy Democrat.
Crazy Democrat, right.
It's been used before.
Right.
I'm not one of them.
Right.
Can it be used in this case?
Right.
Get our Red Eye Radio app in your app store. Then listen at your convenience. Red Radio.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Here's my audio cut of the day here, and it came from the co-chair of the campaign for Biden, Chris Coons. And, one of the problems that I think the campaign has, the campaign, they're out there all alone. They're not directly talking to Biden every day. I mean, this is fascinating. We'll get to the audio cut in just a second, but understand this comes from the Daily Beast. What I'm going to be telling you is these are all people that support Democrats. These are all liberals.
Right.
And this from the Daily Beast. Source told the Daily Beast on Wednesday, and they're reporting it. His family is standing with him. His wife, Jill, and sister, Valerie, who Democrats relied upon to provide wide counsel, not just cheerleading. His son, Hunter, has been seen at the White House so often lately that one well-connected lawyer lobbyist Democrat dubbed him the acting chief of staff. He's the gatekeeper. He's the one who's bucking up his dad. Hunter is the X factor here, wanting to encourage his father like deceased brother Bo did, and not wanting the stress of his felony convictions to hamper his father. Having Hunter on the scene is not helping Biden politically, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
That's from the Daily Beast. This comes from Chris Coons, who was the co-chair of the Biden campaign. And all the talk of the big boy press conference today, you would think you would come out and say, you just wait. He's going to show you what he's going to do, right?
Yeah, right.
Nope. Here we go.
What are you telling him about what you're hearing from your fellow senators?
That a lot of my colleagues have expressed concerns, that they needed to see him go out and campaign, do a long-form interview, do an unstructured press conference. But I have said to my colleagues, remember who Joe Biden is. We can't set a bar so high that who Joe Biden's been for 30 years can't clear it. He's always had a slight stutter.
Wow, really?
By the way, he's getting paid to promote his candidate.
Yeah.
Don't set the bar too high.
Right.
That's how bad things are. Now, to show you how really bad things are, Heather McDonald, City Journal, for people who don't know, Heather McDonald is the one after all of the Black Lives Matter stuff, all the police are systemically racist to hunt down and kill blacks. She's the one that dissected all the crime numbers out there.
Yeah. Right.
And said, where are you getting this from? Where's your evidence? Where's your evidence that systemic racism exists? Here is all the statistics. If you wish to argue the statistics, here they are. Where's your evidence that exists out there? Not just you're saying it, what's your evidence to back it up?
Right.
She was on the forefront of that one.
Right.
She was really, you think about it, she was the Riley Gaines of the systemic racism charge.
Oh, yeah, because she got hammered when all that information came out.
Yep. She was the first one that really came out with it and said, I'm sorry, the numbers don't back what you're saying.
Yep.
If you've got other numbers, show them to me.
Right.
And let's find out if they're credible. But all the numbers I get from law enforcement, the FBI, all the reporting agencies, nothing shows what you're saying.
Right.
But this is her column where she says the Times turns on a dime. And this is fascinating because it shows you just how the New York Times has completely changed in 180 degrees in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
To measure the terror now gripping the mainstream media in the wake of the Biden-Trump debate, consider this. The New York Times is now fact-checking Joe Biden in favor of Donald Trump. Wow. Monday's print edition of the Times contains an article titled, "In ABC Interview, Exaggerations About Polling and Trump. The article applies a level of scrutiny to Biden's Friday interview with ABC anchor George Stephanopoulos that is nearly unprecedented toward a Democratic candidate. The Times is now quoting Biden verbatim with the clear intention of putting his verbal shuffles on full display. And if you see how they write it, the pauses, the incomplete words, they write it that way.
Wow.
So remorseless is the Times towards Biden's speech stumbles that it even records every missing syllable. And they write here, the New York Times had me behind before anything having to do with this race, had me behind 10 points. Not behind, hind.
Because that's the way he said it.
That's the way he said it. Factual errors that before would have been allowed to pass unnoticed are now harvested and amplified.
Ouch.
Before the interview on Friday, Mr. Biden, this was the New York Times, said of Mr. Trump at a rally in Wisconsin that he would beat him again in 2020. At a 4th of July barbecue with military members and their families, Mr. Biden referred to Mr. Trump as one of our former colleagues before correcting himself. At a fundraiser reception in East Hampton, New York, he confused Italy and France when referring to the location of the veteran cemetery he recently visited. The Times engages in a flurry of poll slicing and dicing to discredit what it calls Biden's exaggerated and misleading claims about his secure standing in public opinion. But it is Biden's invocation of a classic anti-Trump meme that occurs the most surreal of all Times responses. Biden had said during the Stephanopoulos interview, this is a guy who told us to put bleach in our arms to deal with COVID with over 1 million people died. The Times is withering. Exaggerated, it proclaims. Trump did not instruct people to inject bleach, but suggested doing so with the disinfectant was an interesting concept to test out. This is the New York Times.
Oh, my gosh. Seriously, did somebody slip anything into our coffee?
The Times notes.
Wow.
The Times notes the context for Trump's alleged bleach injection instruction.
What? Context? They're putting Trump into context?
Yes. In April of 2020, a member of the Federal Coronavirus Task Force had reported on ongoing experiments regarding the use of light and disinfectants to kill the virus. Trump then speculated, as the paper reports. Trump responded, and then I see the disinfectant where it knocks it out in 1 minute. And is there a way that we can do something like that by injection inside or almost a cleaning with a question mark at the end? Because you see it gets in the lungs and it does a tremendous number on the lungs. So it would be interesting to check that. The Times' current distinction between suggesting that a concept be tested and suggesting that a concept is implemented was missing in its coverage in 2020.
Yeah.
The paper ran thousands of words implying that Trump had likely triggered a public health emergency of MAGA bleach drinkers. One reporter then on the COVID hysteria beat reported that Trump had suggested that injections of disinfectant into the human body could help combat the coronavirus. Such a suggestion did not sound like the work of a doctor, a genius, or a person with a good you-know-what, sneered the reporter, throwing a loose version of Trump's comments about himself back at him. Biden's claims during the ABC interview that Trump wanted to get rid of the Affordable Care Act and seeking to empower Big Pharma to charge exorbitant drug prices are also demolished. Wow. A day after the Biden-Trump debate, the Times ran an editorial calling on Biden to withdraw from the presidential race. Since then, its news, scare quotes omitted, its news side has run devastating articles about the Democratic donor revolt against Biden, Biden's long history of warring mental slips, and how this is reaching Democratic circles. The coverage has not affected Biden's confidence in his electoral chances or his mental acuity. On Monday, Biden sent what the Times characterized as a defiant letter to Congress, and they go through that. But, yeah, just bringing that up, I think that's just a great article we wanted everybody to hear because it just shows you that this is a civil war within the Democratic Party.
Oh, it is full on. It's full on now. Yep. Because, it could have gone the other way. Biden sending the letter to the Democrats saying, listen, well, we've had the conversation for a matter of days. It needs to end. You would think, okay, there's your marching orders. And for some, that may be the case on Capitol Hill. And that could be could have been the driver to have a George Clooney in the New York Times say, hey, everybody, he may be a little bit slower than he once was, but he's still the best guy to beat Donald Trump. And look at all the great, it could have gone very differently, but it did not. This is as you put it, full-on civil war in the Democratic Party. This isn't waning support for Biden. This is utter chaos. And I'll tell you, it's kind of, as somebody who's supported the Republican Party, it's kind of one of my fears in the back of my head where it's like, the party can't get to where, and the ouster of Kevin McCarthy and all this, was pointing in that direction. It was like, what are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? What are you guys doing? And now it's come around where the party is united behind the candidate. Are they completely united? Nope, you're never going to get that. That's a unicorn. But you've got them united around the candidate. Not only are they not united around their candidate in the Democratic Party, there is an all-out civil war, and I think that's the best way to phrase that because it is true. They're fighting. Look, they want somebody who they think can beat Trump. They're looking at the clock going, you can't do this. You've got 117 days now. You've got to have a strong campaign. The money has to come in. You've got to get all this, and it's not going to happen as long as Biden is the candidate. And not only is that not going to happen, those on the down ballot are going to suffer to some extent and greater in some of the purple states.
Right. And what I see is people that aren't on the down ballot because they're not running or in safe seats. They're the ones that are supporting Biden.
Yep. Fetterman is one of,
right,
Fetterman is a
one
great
of them.
example.
But Fetterman is sounding delusional again.
Exactly.
That's the one thing about it.
Right.
Oh, no, he's great. Well, everybody knows he's not.
Right.
And so he sounds delusional, but that's one civil war. And the other civil war is part of the Democratic Party, which the New York Times and the Washington Post are. They're part of the Democratic Party.
Right.
They may not be officially, but they are. They're all members of the Democratic Party.
They're not carrying any of Biden's water now.
But to throw the bleach back in Biden's face.
Wow. To fact check
the bleach story.
Check Biden in favor of Trump.
On the bleach story.
On the bleach of all stories.
Because I still hear that from Democrats today.
What's next?
Well, he suggested bleach. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Well, now I have the New York Times article to show you.
What's next? Charlottesville?
So the New York Times becomes what? No, I don't think so. They can't go that far, can they?
I didn't think they would go this far. I don't know.
But now the New York Times will be the next oppressor.
Exactly.
866-90-RED-EYE.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Well, he's supposed to give his solo press conference today.
His big boy press conference.
His big boy, as they're calling it. It's the big boy press conference.
And also his advisors are supposed to be meeting with key members of the Democratic Party in the Senate. And the word is, I don't know how accurate this is, it was a source story late yesterday afternoon, early evening, that it wasn't about those advisors going to give any directive to those members of the Senate. It was about getting the feedback from those members. Now, who knows? And we'll see what stories come out of that. But there are so many stories that are sourced and being widely reported that no doubt it's going to be a crazy day once again.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.